Ward area update. Truth in the afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris is next on the new 1017 The Truth.
Bringing you his authentic perspectives on important topics.
They live in suburbs together. They live in the city together. They hang out together. They're all in the same family. We're the only idiots that fight because we want our voice to only be on one side. Like, does that even make any sense? And when the side loses, you lose everything. They, on the other hand, have a voice no matter what, because somebody that looks like them is always in control.
Frank, candid, and straight to the point.
Well, it's just a skewed system.
Of course it is.
It's a lot of adjustment.
But answer my question though. Should we let people go? Should we let people go? Like, let's just forget about bail altogether. And if your neighbor commits a homicide and kills people, if you kill people and they next to you and you just let them come back and live right next to you, they live upstairs from you. Let them come in their house.
Frank, candid, and straight to the point. This is the best radio show in the state of Wisconsin. Truth in the Afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris on 1017 The Truth and The Truth app.
Now, he's the mayor of the city of Milwaukee. He's a young man. Give him a chance. I only complain about things that I care about. What I want you to do is pretend like I'm in St. Louis. Now, I'm asking the mayor and the common council president and the common council. Show me.
Now, live from the American Family Insurance Studio at the Avenue in the heart of downtown Milwaukee, here is Dr. Ken Harris.
So when I said something, when you were walking away, you was like, yeah, all right. Like, oh, you're listening to Truth in the Afternoon. I'm your host, Dr. Ken Harris. 833-212-1017 is the number. It's Monday. It's happy day. Is it bright out? It's not really. It's starting to get dark early, right? So I'm not really, it's okay. It's all right. 833-212-1017 is the number. So I got a question. And I want an answer. I might even take a call or two because the more I think about it, the more I start to wonder and understand what it is that we as Black people do when it comes to, for lack of a better phrase, home health. So what does a piece of tissue stuffed in your nose mean? And so it was interesting because I was asked that question today and I was like, it can mean a couple things. And they kind of looked at me like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, it can mean a couple things. It can mean your nose is bloody, that you have, blood running out of your nose. And if there's no blood in the little tissue, that means it's what? 833-212-1017 is the number. What does that even mean? Beating a cold, beating an illness, beating the flu, not having a job. What are some of the ways Black people use to remedy issues that are not mainstream? Right? For example, I have it on good authority, and I don't know if it's Catholics or Hispanic. I don't know what ethnicity does it. When they want to sell their house, they put the statue of some saint in their front yard upside down. Like they bury it upside down. Some weird whatever. I shouldn't say weird. Some superstition that they do that causes it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But I'm trying to understand there are some things in our community that we do that are 100% detrimental, but yet we just don't think about it. And yet there's some things that are part of Black folklore that we do that seem to work. For instance, I was talking to a young man today, one of my teammates, 24 years old. I remember him because I remember when his wife, I'm a friend of his father and mother, and I remember when she was actually pregnant with him. Like that's how much I've known him since he was born. I remember when he was in a crib, like talking over the crib, right? That kind of. And I said, where do you put Vicks Vapor Rub? And he said, well, on your nose, if you got a stuffy nose, or on your chest. And I said, why would you put it on your chest? Is there any other place you put it? And he said, well, no. I said, depends on how you feel. And I said, well, have you ever heard that you put Vicks Vapor Rub on your feet? And so some people his age heard it, and other people in his age haven't heard that. I don't know who's heard that. I know I heard it from my grandmother, my mother. And so my question was, well, have you heard it goes on your feet? And it doesn't matter what kind of cold you have. So before you go to bed, take a shower, put Vicks Vapor Rub on your feet, put your socks on, and you'll pretty much sweat that cold right out of you when you wake up the next morning. And I used to think it was dumb. But every now and then you get that point where you get so sick, you go, you know what? Nothing else is working. I've taken all the over-the-counter crap and Tylenol and cold this and cold that, and it's not working. So what did I do? Went and took a shower, put some Vicks Vapor Rub on my feet, found some old white sweat socks, put them on, went to bed, sweated like a pig. Because pigs even sweat. Anyway, sweated like a pig. And then woke up the next morning and clear throat, sinuses clear. Strangest thing in the world. But isn't that what we do? Is that a byproduct of us not being able to get health care and having to come up with remedies for ourselves? Is that us having to manufacture a way? Is that us hoping God will make a way somehow? Because some of them are true. Some of them work. Some of them, not so much. What are some of yours? What are some of your Black home remedies that have worked over time? For me, that was the key one. I've heard some others that I kind of went, I don't think I'm going to do that. My mind's not open enough for me to do that. I've heard things specifically for women. I've heard some things specifically for men. I find it interesting, right? 833-212-1017. What are some of the ways Black people use folklore for home remedies? Is it really folklore? Or is it the truth? Because they work. Not for everybody. Nothing works for everybody. But then all of a sudden, you try it, and it works. So I've done that. I have, watch this. One daughter's in college, the other one's in high school. And I know you'll laugh at me, so I'm going to take it up front. One's in high school, one's in college. And I tell them, put your shoes on, you're going to catch a cold. And my daughter looks at me and says, Dad, that's old folklore. I am not going to catch a cold with no shoes on. I said, yes, you will. My mother always told me, put shoes on, you're going to catch a cold. And she said, Dad, what part of your feet, when they get cold, is going to make you, or a virus is going to come through your foot from the floor to get sick? And I looked at her and I went, it'll be, yeah. She said, the most you'll get is your feet will be cold. until you get used to the 4. And that's pretty much it. But you're not going to catch a cold walking around. I said, but what about exposure? She said, you're in the house. If you're cold, put some shoes on. She said, but you're not going to catch a cold. I said, well, then what about wearing a hat on your head because you can catch a cold? She said, heat escapes from your head. Just put a hat on. And I was like, is that scientific or is that folklore? See, for me, I want to follow Black folklore. It's easier. It's cheaper. It's not a doctor. You don't have to pay nobody. But is that accurate? 833-212-1017 is the number. My topic today, I want to know the most important piece of information for you that falls in the area of Black folklore.
And that is Dr. Ken's Truth on the new 1017 The Truth.
This is 1017 The Truth, Dr. Ken Harris, and I am the woke.